Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Skywatcher What's Up Webcast. We check up everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, the last Friday of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So that's what we do here. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. If you like what you see here today, please go ahead and leave a like on our sorry, got ahead of myself. Please go ahead and leave a like on our videos if you like what you see here. Go ahead and subscribe. It keeps you up to date with what's going on, especially on days like today where we've got some new stuff to show off. These have been a long time in the works. We're finally proud to show them off to you guys, but we're going to get things going. So today is a new product announcement. So thanks for everybody hanging out here this morning to see what's new from Skywatcher. Skywatcher, at least here in the US, we handle the US and Canada. So I see a lot of you are actually chiming in from other places around the world, which is awesome. Thanks for being here. But for whatever you see here, for new products, you're going to want to check with your local distributor for any kind of pricing and availability on products here. So the pricing, yeah. So anyway. If you are not here in the US and Canada, please check with your local distributor. And we'll get this going. So, Skywatcher is really well known for our refractors. We have our Evolux Series, the 72, the 80, the 100, 120, and 150 models. Those have been out for a while. Many of them, including the 80, 100, and 120, have been out for decades at this point and are well used for under the night skies all around the world, and people love them for both visual and imaging purposes. And then, of course, we have our Esprit series, which is our high-end triplet refractors, the 80, the 100, 120, and 150s, and those are kind of our flagship model. But it's time to add a new set of telescopes to the Skywatcher refractor line, and that, of course, is the Evolux series. The Evolux series is actually, we're going to start with 2 models, and that's what we're announcing today. Hopefully we'll see them expand it beyond these 2 models, but for now, this is what I've got to show you. So the Evolux series, these are the 62 and 82 millimeter models. These are what are being announced today. And these are a modern approach to an ED doublet APO refractor. Our Evolux refractor, I'm sorry, there's too many of these that are similar. Our Evo Star refractors have been out for years. They're really well known. They are an ED doublet refractor, but they've been out for a while. So the Evolux series isn't a revamp of the Evo Star series at all. It's a brand new line, but it kind of takes into the consideration what the modern astronomer is looking for. So we still have ED doublet optics. These are brand new doublets. These are not the same ones that you've seen in the other doublet lines. It sits between the Esprit and the Evo Star series. These are faster f6.45 optical systems, so quite a bit faster than some of the Evo Stars. These have improved mechanics, which is a big thing on this. Retractable dew shield, so it makes it much more compact and easy for travel purposes. Compression rings on the back of the focusers so they don't mar up your diagonals or eyepieces or cameras or whatever you're putting in there, so they don't mark all that up. They do have a brand new 2.4 inch dual speed rack and pinion focuser. The focuser does not rotate, just a heads up. I don't know if they ever do some bigger ones. Maybe they'll rotate, but these do not rotate. Sorry. It's an 11-to-1 dual speed, very similar to all the other versions that we've got out there. And fully multi-coated optics on the entire objective, which is really important. Whenever you're looking for a refractor, you want to make sure it has fully multi-coated optics. And what that actually means is all the surfaces are multi-coated with anti-reflection and glare reducing coatings. So it's not like one element is coated and one's not. On these, and like the rest of the Skywatcher refractors, all the lenses that make up an objective have fully multi coatings on all optical surfaces. So in a doublet, we're talking a total of 4 optical surfaces, 2 lenses, 2 sides. So there you go. So let's kind of break into these models a little bit more in detail. So first off, we have the 62. The 62 is an adorable little telescope. It's perfect for those on the go. It's a 62 millimeter aperture, f6.45. That's a 400 millimeter native focal length. It only weighs 5.5 pounds or 2.5 kilograms for the rest of the world. So it's very lightweight and easy to take with you. Retracted, the telescope is just under a foot long at 11.5 inches. And extended, it's 14.5 inches. And then we have the metric conversion there for all of our friends around the world. Focuser is a 2.4 inch rack and pinion, dual speed. It does come with the clamshell mounting ring and the universal V-style dovetail plate. And oh, I jumped in that right. This might go really quick. So if there's questions out there, that'll be good. But we might pound through this a little faster than I thought. We'll take our time. Actually, while I'm here, before I jump into this, let me switch over to my full screen because I just happen to have the 62 right here. So this is a production model. Take the cap off. Production model 62 millimeter. They do have the dual plates up top there. There's the big focuser right there. This one's actually locked down. Unlock this. There we go. And as you can actually see on there, I don't know if you can really well, but we have the measurement markers on the draw tube, which makes that really easy for imaging purposes. You kind of know exactly where you need to hit your focus. And like I said, the dew shields are extendable and retractable. Boop. So there's the whole little thing right there. I love this telescope. I've had one for about 2 years now as we've been testing them. And it's just a fun little telescope to use. Very dark in there. These do not actually have knife edge baffles inside of them. They are just matted out the inside, but it's very dark in there, as you can see. But yeah, that is the 62. On the bottom here, this is the same dovetail plate that comes with the Evolux. I'm sorry, Evo Guide. Need to stop naming these things the same. This is kind of our universal V-style plate, so you can actually undo the 4 holes here, and you can actually move the plate forward or back to get more balance. So yeah, that is the Evolux 62, the little baby of the line. Now let's talk about what it comes with. So the Evolux Series includes a travel case, aluminum travel case with laser cut foam, the V-style dovetail plate. Let me transition this real quick. There we go. V-style dovetail plate. It's 6 inches long or 150 millimeters. Dual finder mounts. So that's actually been very helpful. There's not a lot of room to piggyback anything on these, but they do have those dual finder brackets. So you could really easily put like an Evo Guide on there, and then on the other side you could put your ASI Air and control everything that way. Works out really well, actually. So we have the mounting capabilities for all the modern day imaging stuff. These do have a 0.9x matched ED reducer corrector that is available separately. I saw someone was asking if they're good for astrophotography. They are, and we do have matched correctors to speed them up a little bit. This one for the 62 is a 30 millimeter image circle, which means you can easily illuminate, a crop sensor or your 2600 cameras that everyone's using or something like that. You probably could squeak a full frame on there if you wanted to and go bigger, but your results may vary. There's probably going to be some vignetting on there, but you can do it. But a crop sensor and smaller is no problem. Now, what's cool about this one is it includes the rotator adapter, and inside the rotator adapter, it allows for 2-inch filters to be mounted. And I actually have one right here. Let me switch full screen. Here's the reducer setup. So what's kind of neat about this is, so the adapter has these large awkward threads on it. I think they're like M56 threads. So you will need an adapter to mount this to the draw tube of the telescope. Now, in the past, like with the Evolux series, we actually have one of these little rotators now for them. But in the past, there was no really good way to orient your camera when you've got everything situated. Now, with these little guys, you can actually rotate that with no problem. And the nice thing about it is that we also went through the safety protocols on this. So even if you loosen the mounting screws, or even if you take them out, you cannot, there's a safety catch inside of the rotator there. So if you want to get this all the way out, you actually have to pull and then thread another set of threads out even further. So just because you forgot the screws aren't tight, doesn't mean your optical system is going to go crashing to the ground. There's a safety catch inside of the rotator there. So if you ever forget to do that, don't worry. It's got an insurance policy in there. It is a 55 millimeter back focus. This is our standard 48 millimeter threads like the rest of our hardware. So the ZWO cameras with all their adapters, thread right onto that, and you're pretty much set to go. Or anything with a 55 millimeter back focus, and you're all set to basically put that on the back of your telescope there. Now, another thing that's kind of cool about these is the ability to mount a 2-inch filter inside the cavity right here. So that's been one of the issues on like the Evolux reducers originally back when. There wasn't a good way, especially with a DSLR, to accommodate standard 2-inch filters. You'd have to use a clip-in filter because there was no way to do it. Well, now with these new rotator adapters, and there is one for the Evolux, there's one for the Evolux 72, and then there's one specifically for the Evolux. You can now take your favorite filter and just thread that right in the front there. Of course, if you're using a monochrome camera or whatever, a dedicated camera like these guys, you could get a filter drawer or a filter wheel and set it behind there without a problem. But if you're using like a DSLR and stuff like that, you don't have room to put a filter drawer with the 55 millimeter back focus. So this gives you the ability to use those 2-inch filters and have fun with that. So that's an optional thing today right there that you can add separately. Like I said, it's 55 millimeter back focus. And it does reduce the 62 from 6.45 to f5.8. That's going to increase your exposure. It's going to increase the speed of your telescope by 24%, which means you can actually, that's 24% shorter exposures. Or if you're doing the same exposure, that's 24% more light that you're getting inside the telescope in the same amount of time. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. And it also flattens the field really well and corrects out to the edges, especially for those crop sensors. And like I said earlier, you could do something that's full frame, but your results may vary when you're pushing out to that level. And then focal length wise, you're reducing from 400 to 360 millimeters. So you're also getting a little bit wider field of view, which can also help and be helpful for smaller sensors. Let me transition back here so you guys see this. That you can get a little bit wider field of view for a smaller sensor. And like I showed you earlier, there's the corrector, there's the rotator, and then you put the filter in there and mount those two together, and that pops onto the back of the telescope just like so, and the filter sits up inside the draw tube there. There are matched reducers for both versions. We'll get into that in a minute. But the rotator actually comes in the box with the flattener. You don't have to buy them a la carte. You buy it, and there it is. So all in one convenient little box. Now, the 82, the larger of the two that we're announcing today. The 82 millimeter, like I said, 82 millimeter aperture, 6.45 f ratio, 530 millimeter focal length, so it is a little bit longer. It's 6.5 pounds, so it's only a pound earlier than the 62, so it's not that heavy. It is a bit long. It's 16.4 inches retracted, so it's nice and convenient actually when it's retracted, but it does get a little bit long when it's extended. There's a lot of tube underneath that very long dew shield, which actually helps protect the lens if you're in a very, dew laden environment. Uses the same 2.4 inch or 61 millimeter rack and pinion focuser, dual speed. Clamshells are also included, the V-style dovetail bar. And actually, let me switch over to this one because we did that with the 62. Here's the 82. You can see the 82 is quite a bit bigger than its little companion. And the draw tube, the dew shield here, you can get back, extends quite a bit out. So it's quite a long telescope there, but it doesn't weigh too much. This could still fit on a Star Adventure if you're looking for a grab and go system. So yeah, there's that. Again, don't have any knife edge baffles on these two, at least. If they do a larger set on expand the line, I don't know if they're all going to be that way, but we'll see. But there is no baffle down in there. It's just blacked out really nicely. But that is, and then of course, if you need to adjust balance, you can just loosen the clamshell here, and that should slide. This one's kind of tight because it's new. But you can actually balance it in the tube or in the clamshell there if you want. And it does still have the dual mounting finder brackets there. So that'll be nice, again, for the imagers out there who want to have, a guide scope. And then they also want to have like an ASI Air or some little computer to do that on. Now, the Evolux 82. Again, travel case. V-style dovetail. Get back here, sorry. It's the same dovetail, 6 inches long, 150 millimeters. Dual finder mounts. And then, of course, this has its own matched 0.9x ED reducer corrector. And this one has a slightly larger image circle as well. So you can get away with a little bit bigger chip, 36 millimeter image circle. It does include that rotator adapter that we talked about earlier, so you can put all your filters and fun stuff in there. Works actually pretty well if you want to kind of hide it there. Adapter, again, allows the 2-inch filters, and it's got the standard 55 millimeter back focus that all of our refractors basically have. And on this particular telescope, you still have that 24% increase, but now instead of 530, you're going to 477. So it's a little bit shorter. And then, of course, you can put your favorite 2-inch filter inside, thread it in there, and then pop all that on the back there. So that's kind of a cool setup right there. Now, I know some people are asking about imaging. Here's some test shots. I believe all these are primarily with the 294. But they, as you can see, they work pretty well in there. Do a nice job with those chips. And then, of course, here's some other stuff that's floating out in Cygnus. But they do a pretty good job for what they are. We'll get into, I know there's some questions there. I'm kind of blowing through this a lot faster than I had planned. But I know there's a lot of questions floating out there, too. So that'll take some time. But these were designed primarily to be used for astrophotography purposes, as well as, grab and go. And then, of course, some galaxies with the 533. These guys right here, these larger ones, these were shot with the 82. And then this guy right here was shot with the 62 with a 533 camera. That's why it's a square shot there. Let's see. Let me try answering some questions in here really quick, because we kind of went through this a lot faster than I had planned. If you want to know all the specs and details on these, they are actually on the Skywatcher USA website, which is just skywatcherusa.com. Go under Explore Products, Refractors, and Evolux ED series. There's all the fun stuff there. There's the 62, 82, and their reducers there. Again, this is US pricing, so I would recommend checking with your local distributor if you're interested in getting one. Our Evolux refractors are going to be probably making their way out to their owners. Today is the first day that you can actually pre-order these. They should be, as long as there's no hang up in the docks and major hang ups in the docks on the ships, hopefully next month. So you're not looking at too long of a wait time to get one of these, but it's a very small run for the first shipment. So if you want to get one, I would place your order, because it's going to be a few months for the next shipment. So just an FYI if you want to get one of the first ones out there. But all that's up there right now with all the pricing there. Before anybody freaks out, yes, I understand the reducers can be pricey, but they also have ED glass in them, and that's just how it worked out. Let's see some other questions that were floating out in here. Are they good for astrophotography? Obviously, yes. We did that. I'm trying to figure out if these are better than my EvoStar 100 at this point. That's a good question. The EvoStar 100 is a fantastic telescope, a very hard telescope to beat, but I would say probably where the Evolux stands apart is its how compact they are. So I don't think I would say get rid of your EvoStar 100 at this point, but I would, if you wanted like a travel companion telescope, maybe something that can fly easily, the 62 is kind of a nice little one. But I wouldn't say they're a full replacement for the EvoStars. Maybe we'll do larger ones in the future. Hopefully they'll expand the line, but for now, we're just starting with these two. What's the difference between EvoStar, Evolux, and Esprit? The EvoStar line, I would say, is kind of our intro APO refractor line. We go from 72 all the way up to 150 millimeter apertures, and they are ED doublets. They are kind of an older design, so a lot of them have a longer focal length, which is kind of what you would need for doublets, except with some of the modern day glass, it's becoming a lot more helpful. But the EvoStar line is great if you're an observer. Maybe you're not doing a ton of imaging, but you want to dabble with it. I would say go with the EvoStar line. The Evolux line, at least as it currently stands with the two models, I would say are very nice for travel. The 62 in particular is going to pair really well with a lot of these small mounts. And that's really where a lot of the demand of the market is right now, particularly in the astrophotography world, is people want smaller and lighter setups. There's a lot more people that are using these very small mounts like the Star Adventures and Ioptron, and you see ZWO coming out with their AM5 mount. A lot of people want to have stuff that's small and lightweight, but yet effective. So the Evolux line, as it currently sits, I would say is a step up, especially mechanically, in a much more compact package than some of the other EvoStar lines, because none of the EvoStar refractors have that retractable dew shield. We've been asked repeatedly to do that, and they just don't. It's kind of a very basic lineup, where the Evolux kind of takes on some of the genetics of the Esprit. Now the Esprit line is our triplet line. So the EvoStar and Evolux are doublets, and the Esprits are triplets. And the Esprits were designed from the ground up for high-end, large sensor astrophotography. They are the best optics that we can possibly produce, and you pay for it. So you know, the Esprits have a lot larger image circles. They're highly corrected optical systems, extremely sharp, no color whatsoever, and can handle some of the modern day large sensors that are out there. So EvoStar, I would say, is best for observers. Maybe you want to dabble with imaging with a nice refractor, but you're maybe a little bit more on a budget than what a triplet can do. The Evolux line, as it currently stands, is going to be that next step up. Right now, they're fantastic little telescopes for travel purposes, and then the Esprit lines is no compromise when it comes to the Skywatcher line. So that's how I would break them up. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. Why no baffles? I don't know. That's just the way they designed it. There's other telescopes out there that don't use baffles, like the Teleview refractors. They don't have like knife edge baffles. They kind of use a flocking material in there, and they work quite well. But there's other telescopes out there that don't have a knife edge baffle system either, and they're still effective at that point too. Let's see. Couldn't read the prices on my cell phone. Can you say what their prices are, please? Sure. Now, these are U.S. prices at the time of this recording. So if any of you go back and you're watching this years in the future, prices are subject to change. So here in the United States, the EvoStar 62 is $475. The Evolux 62, $475. Evolux 82, $915. The 62 reducer with the rotator, $375, and the rotator and reducer for the 82 is $385. So hopefully that answers your questions there. So all right, I think there's a couple more floating in here. Availability, UK vendors showing them on orderable but no stock yet. You'll have to talk, if you're in the UK, you need to talk to your local distributor and see when they expect them in. I think Australia got their first shipment in, but they probably went pretty quick. But yeah, you need to check with your local distributor. Let's see. How about Skywatcher making big 5 to 6 inch f15 refractors? I've seen this come up a couple times. I'll tell you exactly why we don't do it, because they don't sell. They're very cool telescopes. I know there's a lot of people out there that like the long focal length telescopes, especially big refractors. But from a business perspective, and being as respectful as I can with that, they just don't sell. And Skywatcher is a telescope company where we make lots of telescopes and pay our salaries so we can do stuff. And we are not in a position to where we can just sell a handful of things. They like to sell a lot of things. I understand there are companies out there like D&G, who I don't know if they're doing anything anymore, but there are companies out there like iStar that do make those telescopes, but they're just very low demand. And it's expensive making stuff like that. Prototyping a refractor takes years, and it's extremely expensive to do. So if we are making a new telescope, we need to make sure it's going to meet the market request. So, and unfortunately, in today's modern era, the long focal length refractors, achromats, just don't check those boxes. Sorry. Let's see. Kind of glasses used. Skywatcher doesn't state what kind of glasses used anymore. Sorry. Cool. Anyway, moving on. There's some accessories out there, third-party accessories that will work on these telescopes as well. I just want to mention those really quick. First off is the Starizona Apex ED reducer. These are fantastic. These were originally actually designed around the Esprit refractors, but they've become increasingly popular because they're very multi-role on a lot of different telescopes out there, including the Evolux series. Now the Evolux 62, because it's got that short 400 millimeter focal length, you want the S model, or for short. These are very fast reducers as well. 0.65 reducer. So this actually brings your 62 down to 4.19. So 260 millimeters. That's crazy for something like that. The Apex 82. I'm sorry, the Evolux. All these things are way too similar. Evolux 82. That's the Apex EDL, the long version. Again, that's going to bring you down to 4.2 if we're rounding, but 344 millimeters. And thC have an APS-C sized image circle, so you can easily go along and put your many favorite cameras on there. So yeah. Now, one of the big questions, obviously, especially because everyone's in astrophotography nowadays, is what about the motor focusers? Optech is currently the only company right now that has a focuser designed to work on this. So, I'm sure this will change over time. The pinions that are inside of the focuser that the knobs like latch onto are much larger than the EvoStar ones, which means, they're just stronger. They're like almost 3 times the diameter of the EvoStar pinions. So currently, because we did check with this, the ZWO EAF does not work on this currently. Hopefully ZWO makes a new little adapter thingy, those little silver, springy things they give you with the motor to attach it. But it does not currently work on the Evolux line. We've already tried it. Now, Optech, however, made one, and these are going to be available here shortly. You can contact Optech. These are the Optech Direct Sync. This is the SWLX25. This motor works on both the 62 and 82 models. And the nice thing about this is you can actually rotate this housing, and let me see if I can get this. It disengages the gear down in here. So this mounts to the coarse speed, the single speed side. So if you rotate the housing and disengage the gearing, you can still use the dual speed side normally without having to take the motor off, which is why I really like these Optech. They're a little spendy, but they're extremely accurate focusers. They are direct drive. They clamp right onto the axle of the focuser. You're not going across the planetary bearings and the dual speed, which just slips after a while. So very accurate focusing. And this is the new version where you don't need a control box. You just USB and power, and you're all set. So that's new from Optech, which is specifically designed for these new focusers. On the Evolux Series. No need to remove it. Just pop it on there like you see right there. And you can disengage this over here, and you can still use the dual speed side normally. So it's kind of nice, so you can still use it visually or get, coarse focus where you want it without having to, use a controller or take everything apart or whatever. So anyway, that is the Evolux series. If you've got any questions, now is the time to throw them up there. I know we went through this really quickly, but these are our new refractors. Hopefully over the years, we will start adding new sizes. I've been told we'll do more sizes, but right now we've got the 62 and 82 for the United States and Canada customers. The first shipment should be arriving in the next 4 to 6 weeks-ish. So as of today, March 11th, 2022, you should be able to go pre-order those, and the wait shouldn't be that long. But anyway, that is our new product announcement. Next week, we're going to be doing reflector versus refractor. It comes up quite a bit, so we're going to do a whole episode on that. We'll actually be broadcasting from our offices in Southern California, so might have a little different setup than what you currently see here, with a lot more examples, so you can join us next week. But if you have any questions, now's the time to go in and throw that in there. I know there are some questions out there. It seems Skywatcher only catering to imagers now. That's kind of a tough one. So here's the thing about that. With a telescope company like this, it's a business. That's basically what it is. I'm a hobbyist like many of you. I've got telescopes all over the place. I love messing with telescopes, but it's a different type of perspective when you step into the telescope manufacturing world. It's a business. So when you are spending money as a business to make something, you need to make sure that it's going to sell and meet the numbers that it needs to make to keep your staff employed. So with that, imaging, it should be pretty obvious. Imaging is a major market right now. Most people seem to want to do astrophotography right now. So a lot of stuff ends up being catered to the astrophotography market. It's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. I wouldn't say we've completely blocked out visual users at all. These telescopes work perfectly for visual use as well, but we have to make sure that it does do what the market is looking for. Oh yeah, we will be doing shirts for the Evolux line if you want them on our Threadless, skywatcher.threadless.com. There'll be some Evolux shirts up there. Let's see, 72 ED with its reducer versus the 62. is the bigger price of the 62 really that better of optics? If you have a 72 Evo Star already and it's got a reducer, I don't know that the 62 realistically is going to give you anything that the 72 can't. It's kind of a sideways move, if you will. So I wouldn't make the jump there. I'd go to something bigger at that point. But the 72 it's a cute little telescope, and it does very well. So I would probably say get the 62 if you have a larger instrument and you want to grab and go telescope. Or maybe you are getting into imaging, and then maybe take a look at the 62 or the 72. So hopefully that helps there. Let's see any other stuff floating in there. Like I said, we are going to finish a little bit early today. Any news on FlexTube Dobsoni availability? That's a very large question. You want to contact support at skywatcherusa.com. And see what availability is, or check with your local dealer. So yeah. I think that's it. Yep, sorry that this episode was a little bit shorter than I had planned, but that is the Evolux series. They are on the skywatcherusa.com website right now, available for pre-order. Check with your dealers. If you are international somewhere, please go and check out your local distributor and see what the availability is for your local area. Oh, wait, Nico's got something. Anyone test the reducers yet on a crop sensor for DSLR? Wondering how well corrected they are on the corners. Well, Nico, I guess we'll just have to figure out how to get someone to test that for us. Wink, wink. So, cool. All right, guys, that's it for this week. I'm sorry this was a short episode, but that is the Evolux series. There's only 2 telescopes in the line right now, so I can only fill an hour so much. Next week, join us for reflector versus refractor. Thanks for hanging out with us. Please have a great weekend. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.